Namaste and welcome to another episode of TCR Advanced Technical Podcast. I am Chiral Patel, corrosion and pipeline integrity expert working with TCR Advanced. I am honored to host this special episode on helium leak testing. Whether you are in chemical, petrochemical, power or valve testing industries, these episodes will bring to you that your plants run safely, efficiently and leak-free. With me today is Gopul Patel, who is highly knowledgeable, versatile and experienced technocrat who is having a vast experience with helium leak testing, scanning electron microscope and energy dispersive spectroscopy. And more importantly, he is an asset integrity expert with risk-based approach. He also holds API 580 certifications for risk-based inspection. Welcome, Gopul sir, to our episode.
Thank you. Thank you, Chiral.
So let's start with the basics. What is helium leak testing and why it is used?
Yeah, helium leak testing. Let us begin with the basics. First of all, let us define what is the leak. The leak is unwanted flow of chemical or process fluid or anything from one side of wall containing it to other side, which is wanted or unwanted. In certain cases, it is wanted, but for leak detection, for terming it as a leak, it is the unwanted flow which is not desirable. So we must arrest it or identify it and see what is the volume of unwanted flow, and that is termed as a leak. Now coming to helium leak testing. So helium leak testing is a special one of the technique of leak detection, wherein we use helium gas to identify the leaks in a system.
So why only helium gas and not any other gas?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. See, helium has a certain unique property which makes it fit for this identification. First, it is very rare in atmosphere, so it will not interfere with atmospheric gases. Second thing, it is a very light gas. It is next to hydrogen. The helium is the smallest molecule found in nature. So its very small size will allow it to penetrate through shortest opening and being identified. Third case is a non-reactive gas. It will not react with any chemical. It will not react with. It will not expand. It will not blast. So this makes it a noble gas, and since it does not interact with any process or any fluid at any temperature, it is suitable for identifying leaks. You can mix it with your stream and use it without any hazards or any chemical reactions.
So you are saying since it is a lightest gas, it is having an enormous applications.
Yes.
So what are the requirements of helium leak testing?
See, helium leak test is required for many cases, such as where there is an environmental hazard due to leak, where there is a lethal gas service, where it is undesirable to have this, when there is a toxic gas service, where the containment is toxic in nature, it can harm human life and other thing. There also helium leak test or leak test is a required case. Then certain applications like vacuum chambers, vacuum gases, where the parts which are used in space, they has to be leak tight. They should not permit any air or anything out or in. So there, the helium leak test is very useful technique to identify the leaks, to plug the leak, and maintain the integrity of the equipment.
So you are saying there are various techniques which are used to identify helium leak testing. Is my understanding appropriate?
Yes, there are several techniques of helium leak testing itself. One of the technique is called sniffer method, which is very commonly used in the industry. The sniffer method uses a component to be pressurized by helium gas and check from the technique called sniffer probe method. If there is a there's a probe which sucks small amount of air from the air, and it goes into machine and analyze the content of helium. So your job is pressurized, and you move your probe through all the possible points where you are suspecting the leak, and see whether any helium is escaping from the pressure boundary, and it is detecting. Similarly, second technique is a vacuum technique, vacuum method, wherein you evacuate the job and you spray helium from the outside and see if any helium, and the helium leak detector machine is connected to the vacuum system. So if you spray the helium from outside, wherever there is a leak, helium will enter into the system, it will go to the pump, and it will go to the helium detector, and it will identify the presence of helium. So these are the two major techniques. Then there are several variations of techniques based on this, which would take a little bit more technical, so we will not be discussing that.
Okay. So, what are the advantages of using these techniques?
Helium leak testing is, as I said, helium being a lightest gas, its sensitivity is very high. Apart from other technique, like we commonly come across leak detection techniques such as pressure test or hydro test, then air bubble test, then very common we normally see, like when we have our automobile tires which has puncture, we dip it into the water and see whether at what place there is a leakage. So this is also a technique, but helium leak test is one of the very sensitive technique. It can detect helium volume of 1 cubic centimeter of air passing from one side to other side in 15 to 17 years. That much small leaks can be identified through helium leak detection.
What I understand is helium leak testings are having a very wide industrial applications.
Yes.
If we talk about refinery and petrochemicals, and we all work to keep it safe and
Yes, it is very
and
important to-
integrity. So, which are the equipments which can be tested for its integrity with helium leak detection methods?
Yeah, helium leak testing, one of the very common equipment is heat exchanger, where there are many tubes, number of tubes that, and there are possibility of corrosion in the tubes which can lead to the leakage. So heat exchanger is one of the most prominent area where helium leak detection is used. Then there are applications where valves, vessels, cladded vessel, jackets of vessels, pipelines, and other components, they are frequently utilized to detect leak by helium leak detection.
So similarly, does helium leak testing is having any applications with power sectors?
Power sectors, yes, there are many times helium leak detection is used to identify leaks in turbines, condensers, and other vacuum system, because they operate in vacuum, and it is very important to ensure that a certain level of vacuum is maintained, because if that vacuum is not maintained, there is a direct effect on the performance and efficiency of the turbines. So helium leak detection is very much used in the turbines and other vacuum systems.
So does this vacuum leak testing, means helium leak testing method, is also used for a cryogenic equipments?
Yes, cryogenic equipment like insulated vessels and vacuum vessels, it is very much used, because to contain the cryogenic liquid in liquid or gaseous stage, we need to maintain the temperature of the vessel, and that has to be isolated from the environment. And many times vacuum is used to isolate the heat transfer of this thing. So wherever vacuum comes, naturally there is a chance of leakage, and we need to identify what is the leakage rate and how well the vessel will maintain the vacuum. So helium leak testing is very much used in this thing also, like cryogenic applications.
So, Gopul sir, let's go back. How can you please explain how helium leak testing is carried out in heat exchangers?
Yeah, heat exchangers, what we do is generally we pressurize from the shell by helium gas, and uh, we keep the tube sheets accessible to helium leak detection, and we move the sniffer probe through each of the wear joint, each inside each of the tube, and see whether there is any leakage or not. So this is how the exchanger helium leak detection is done in normal cases. Shell side is pressurized with a helium. Generally, that pressure is kept at around 20 to 30% of its design pressure. Sometimes, and where the volumes are very large, we use helium and nitrogen or helium and air mixture to pressurize the component and see the detection. Generally, if it is a straight tube exchanger, we test it from both the side of this. Where there is a U tube bundle is there, then it is done from one side of inlet as well as outlet tubes.
So, so when you say when there is a U type tubes, so you are doing it on the one side. So what about the U shapes? Can that also be detectable by helium leak
Yes,
testing?
U-tube bundle also can be detected. We check both the sides of U-tube and identify whether there is a leak, and we can even pinpoint individual tube which is leaking, so that that tube corrective action can be to whether it is retubing is required, or you can, if there is a few leaks, you can plug the tubes and operate the equipment for further operation.
So I can say helium leak testing can be a predictive tool for inspections. Is my understanding correct?
Helium leak detection is generally, it is a you cannot do it in online method. You need to take a shutdown of the equipment. You need to open because the tube sheet side access is required for this. So you need to take a shutdown. You may have to empty the contents of exchanger and do the testing. But yes, you can say predictive nature is, see, there is since you take a shutdown, it is not a predictive technique, but it's a preventive technique, or it's a, it will give you decision on whether to repair or total replacement.
So again, I'm asking, I'm going back. How helium leak testing is carried out in vacuum system?
Yes, in vacuum system, the helium leak testing is carried out exactly reverse as with what we are doing in heat exchangers. We are connecting our equipment to the vacuum pump, because any vacuum system will have a vacuum pump which is evacuating the volume. So we connect our equipment to the outlet of vacuum system, and we evacuate the system. Once it reaches whatever vacuum at a stable point, then we start spraying helium from all possible joints where we are suspecting leak. And if we are not suspecting leak, then we will spray helium on each and every joint, and we will see whether any helium is detected at the outlet of pump outlet, to see whether any helium has entered into system. And by identifying this amount of helium, we can see what is the amount of leak is there, and we can take remedial measure to repair the joint or re-weld or whatever this thing. So that is the technique by which you can do, and the vacuum test in the vacuum system is an online test. You don't need to stop the equipment. You can just connect the thing and you can continue your process. That is the advantage. You can do it online.
Okay. Do you have any case studies describing where TCR Advanced has helped its clients in doing this type of vacuum helium leak
Yes,
testing?
we have done some of the test in turbine systems where a turbine with a mechanical pumping system, we have connected the equipment in a power plant and we identified leak in a turbine system which later on repaired and turbine has resumed to its original efficiency.
So with this, you have helped a plant save its
Yes,
integrity.
yes, yes.
So now, how helium leak testing is working on valve?
Valves, there is a movable mechanical shaft which and there is a stationary pressure containing valve body. So due to wear and tear, there is a chance of leakage from the shaft in a valve. So that is a major concern. And when the valve is handling corrosive or a lethal fluids, it is very much required to identify whether there is any leakage from this, which is generally it is called a fugitive emission technique, wherein there are chances of very trace level fluid or gas escaping from the shaft joints. So where what we do is we pressurize the valve body with a helium at rated pressure. Say if your valve is operating at 100 bar pressure, you pressurize helium with 100 bar and operate the shaft on and off few times and then keep it at half open condition and see whether there is any, and use a sniffer probe technique to see whether there is any escape of helium gas or not. If helium gas is not escaping, then you can be rest assured that no other fluid will escape, because as we said, helium is the lightest gas. So this is a technique used to identify and maintain the integrity of valves.
Sir, what are the factors which can lead to a false or inaccurate readings with helium leak testing methods?
Yeah, there are few things which we need to be careful while performing the helium leak detection. Otherwise, you may not get the proper result. First thing is the operator must be knowledgeable for identifying where to pressurize and from which side you need to test, because since this is a permeation method, if you have pressurized at wrong position, or if inside the vessel or reactor if there are any partitions, and if the helium is not pressurized at certain area of the equipment, and if you are trying to detect the leak, you will not find a leak. So some technical knowledge or experience of operator is also very important. Second thing is if there are very fine leaks and you have some material sticking on the wall of the vessel or job, and if you are pressurizing, that layer will prevent helium excess of helium gas to from the wall and leakage area, and helium may not be available to be detected. That is another point. Sometimes we have seen that there is a film of oil. If you have not cleaned the equipment properly, if oil or some residue or corrosion deposit is sitting on the defect area, we have seen that helium leak detection is not possible. Another is very tight leak. If very tight leaks are there, which are expanding only at a certain pressure or temperature, so if you do it at room temperature and the sufficient pressure is not given, it may not leak, helium may not leak, and you will get a false indication. So these are the some of the factors which needs to be considered, whether we are using right pressurization, whether we are targeting the pressurization area properly, and we are the cleanliness of the job is proper or not. That needs to be verified to get accurate results in helium leak detection.
So, are there any qualification or training requirements for the operator?
Yes, there is since helium leak detection is one of the non-destructive testing. ASNT level 2 qualification is required for operator to do the helium leak test, and ASNT and ISNT level 3 requirement is there for defining the procedures for helium leak detection. So if these qualification are there, then operator must qualify this to have proper interpretation of the test results. And ASME section 5 article 10 is dedicated to helium leak detection and other leak detection techniques. So most of the time these regulations are followed for helium leak detection.
Uh, nice introduction, sir. But before concluding, can you share your toughest experience with helium leak testing?
Yeah, we have come across a very typical problem in aluminium casting testing. There was a big insulator of about 2 meter diameter and around 3 meter height that was having some leak. The customer has come up with a problem that it has a leak, and he comes to us to pinpoint the point of leakage so that it can be rectified in a few operation. So what we did is we pressurize it with a helium at around 6 to 7 bar pressure, and then we initially checked using sniffer probe, and we could not find any leak in this. So what we did is we have heated it to a slightly warmer environment, and with the pressurization we found leakage at certain area surface of the casting. So we cut open that area and we analyzed in our lab. There was no straight leak. We have checked all NDT technique like dye penetration testing and other thing, but we could not pinpoint any leak. We even did a radiography to see if we have any crack or anything is seen, but it was not seen in this. Then ultimately what we did is we cut the cross section of where the maximum helium was detected. We cut the cross section and we found that there are interconnected cavities which leads to a leakage, and this is not possible to detect by any other technique, and we could successfully identify with the helium leak testing this thing, and it helped customer to avoid porosities, and then it solved their problem.
Excellent conversation, Gopul sir. With this, we are bringing this episode to an end. Anyone, if you are having any questions or training requirement or wanted to have any informations regarding TCR Advanced Helium Leak Testings, you are requested to explore our website, which is www.tcradvanced.com, and you can contact us or write to us on testing@tcradvanced.com. With this, we are concluding our episode. Stay safe and see you later. Thank you very much.